for deciding what the value of their inventory is, how much money worth of goods they have on hand, is the FIFO method. And FIFO stands for first in, first out. So this is looking at the price of individual items as you're buying them. And this assumes that whichever ones you ordered first, you're going to put those out front and try to sell them first. Okay, so as they come in, you're pushing those out to the front, selling them. So if you have any inventory left, it's going to be the last items you ordered and not the first ones. So they don't bother averaging everything together. They just look at, okay, how many items did we sell? What were the prices of those items? So let's do an example here. Here's a light bulb company. They are going to use the FIFO method to find the cost of goods sold. The table records the number of units received in the month of June. They sold 134 energy-saving bulbs. Okay, so what is the cost of the goods that they sold? They sold 134. So what we do is we go through and say, okay, well, if we sell the first 84, we're going first in, first out. So first we would sell those 84. Okay, then we would sell these 12 that we got. And finally we would sell that last 64. How many total is that? Well, that's 160 items. We only sold 134 of those. Okay, so we need to make a cutoff point here. Okay, let's find out how many we have left over. Okay, so we bought 160, we received 160, we sold 134 of those. Okay, so there were 26 left over. So that means we sold the first 84 here, we sold these 12, and then in here we sold as many as we could but had 26 left over. So let's find out if we subtract the amount left over, how many we had there. 38. Okay, so here's how it works out. We sold the 84 right here at the top. Those were our first ones, so we sold them first. Then we sold these 12, and then we sold 38 of these and had 26 left over. And you'll notice 38 plus 26 gives us our 64. Okay, so for this 64, I'm going to put, we sold 38, had 26 left over. Okay, because when we're finding the total cost of goods, we're going to find the actual cost of each item we sold. So we come down here and we go, okay, we sold 84 that were $2.41 a piece. Then we sold 12, if we just look up at our chart here, that's where I'm getting these numbers. Then we sold 12 and they were $2.31 a piece. And then we sold, oh, down here, our 64 that we had, we only sold 38 of them so far, because remember there's 26 left over in our inventory that we have not sold. Okay, so we only sold 38 of those, but they were $1.68 each. Okay, so rather than averaging, we're using the actual cost of each item and assuming that we're selling the first ones that we got, we're selling them first. Okay, so 84 times $2.41 is $202.44. Plus, we have that 12 times $2.31. Those items are $27.72. And finally, we have the $38 times the 168. Those were $63.84. Now we go ahead and total those. So let's add all of those together. Okay, so we're going to total up our order here, the things that we've actually sold. So we're going to add $202.44, $27 and, can't read my handwriting, 72 cents, and $63.84. we get a total of $294. Okay, so with the first in, first out method, the value of the goods we sold, these are the items we sold, not the ones we still have on hand. The items of the ones we sold were $294. That was their value. Okay, so for the first in, first out method, let's go through what were our steps again. Okay, they told us how many we'd sold. So we had to figure out where those items were. You start at the top and get rid from there. So you start with 134 is one way you could do it. Subtract 84 because you sold those first. Okay, so and go, okay, I have 50 left. Then you go to the next thing, sell those 12. Say, how many do I have left? I have 38 left. Okay, those 38 are going to have to come out of this final amount, which was 64. So then we go, okay, if we sell 38, how many are left? There were 26 left over, but we're only selling this 38. Then you do the individual price of each set. Okay, so we sold the 84 here at $2.41, the 12 here at $2.31, and then we sold 38 of these last ones at $1.68, and then you total it up. Okay, let's do another example. And I changed the question here and didn't change it back. This is supposed to say FIFO. FIFO. Okay, so remember, first in, first out is what FIFO stands for. Okay, they're using the FIFO method to find the cost of goods sold and the value of their ending inventory. The table records this. Again, this is exactly the same problem we had before. The only difference is they want to know the value of the remaining inventory. Okay, so they still are starting at the top, selling from top to bottom. They want to know what's the value of the remaining inventory. So like we did before, we figure out, well, where is our inventory left over? Which of these orders is it going to be in, and how many are there left over? So if we go back up here to our work up above, since this is the same table, same situation, we take a look and we remember we had 26 left over. Okay, because we sold a total of 160, or sorry, bought a total of 160 and sold 134 of them. So there were 26 left over. So if you're doing one of these individually and you haven't done a problem before it, it's the same. What you would do if you're trying to find the value of the ending inventory is first total the number of units you've received. Okay, so first you'd find out, okay, how many did I have? We had 160. Subtract from that how many you sold. So we sold 134. That will give you how many you have left. So again, we have 26 left. Then you have to figure out how much those 26 cost. Well, we know that the final 26 were all in this group here. Okay, that's where our leftovers were, because we had a 64 there. Okay, so if there's only 26, we know we sold some of these. So we had 26 left over, and they were from the group that cost $1.68 each. So we get $43.68. That's the value of our inventory that's left over. So notice this is much different than the average cost method. We're just figuring out if we sell these first and go down, okay, where are our leftovers, how much were they a piece, and that gives us our cost of our remaining inventory. Okay, let's do one more of these. An organic cheese company uses the, so on these, when you get to the end, you're going to want to pay attention to what method they're using. They use the FIFO method, which again means first in, first out. Okay, so you sell from the top down. The company had 160 wheels of organic cheese. Use the FIFO method to find the cost of those 160 wheels that they sold. Okay, So we're working from the top down. Let's take the 160 and find out where they came from. So we start at the top. We're going to sell these 100 first, and we'll have 60 left of the, okay, 60 more to sell. And then we get to this group, and there's only 65 here. So we know we sold 60 of these, and we had 5 left over. We didn't even dip into this set at the bottom. Okay, so when we're finding the cost of the ones we sold this first 160 of these that were here, and had 5 left over here and 145 left over here. Okay, so all we're supposed to find out is the cost of those first 160 sold. Well, the first 100 that we sold, they were worth $9.65 each. The next 60 that we sold to get our 160 were worth $9.75 each. That was their cost. This gives us $965 for the first 100. That was their cost. And then $60 times 9.75. They were $585. We go ahead and we add those two values together, and we'll know what was the cost of the goods that we sold. Together, that's $1,550. Okay. If they wanted to know the cost of the inventory, then we'd go up from the bottom and go, okay, we have this 145 and then 5 more. Okay. So if they wanted the leftovers,